works very hard, or at least some of them. We'll watch their video, we'll listen to their perspective, we'll see what it says.
Do you want to know the biggest privilege these guys got?
Got what?
They choose to stream 9 hours.
100%.
They literally can turn it off after 4. They can turn it off after 5. But because they want to make more money, they keep streaming. And then they want to get up here and then complain about how hard it is. You're literally choosing it. That's like you do it for money and then complaining it hurts. Today's topic.
I would respond to that. I'm going to let them get into that in the video because this is obviously just like a preamble, and so we'll let them get into it.
Our favorite socialist is getting in trouble.
Here we go.
Hamas Piker.
God. Hamas Piker, huh?
That's a good one.
Is audio bad? Okay, sorry.
Yes, a real job can be gruesome. A real job can make you very tired. But a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you. You know what I mean? In the same way that 9 hours of streaming absolutely will.
Shut that shit off, please. Shut up.
Come on, just keep listening.
Oh, my God.
What?
So a nurse that doesn't have a real job?
You know what? According to Hasan, people took them out of context. So let's see the full video.
Okay, yeah, here's the whole video. We'll watch the whole video.
Yeah. No. Social battery wise, unless you're in retail, it's very different. You're out of touch. I'm going to die, dude. There's motherfuckers who are accountants in here, and they're misunderstanding what I'm saying. A real job does not expend your social battery in the same way as someone who did a sales job, a real job, okay? I'm telling you, as someone who did both, 9 hours of constant performance and people-pleasing taps you out from social scenarios. After 9 hours of that, I could probably do fucking physical labor. It would not bother me. But I can't fucking do more social shit. That's my point. There are obviously real jobs out there that are good comparisons. Service sector, people-pleasing jobs would be very similar. Those are like, I think, customer service type shit. But like if you're an accountant or if you're even like in sales, my interactions with clients was limited, way more limited than like constantly having to do this for 9 hours with like a back and forth interaction for 9 hours. That's what like sucks your social battery and you just tap out after it. Yeah, think about it this way. Like, you give presentations for your job, right? Imagine giving a presentation for 9 hours straight. It's like, after a while, you'd be like, I don't want to talk ever again.
That's just not true, though. That's just not true. It is not like giving a presentation for 9 hours. Because, okay, the difference between giving a presentation at a job and streaming is that the people you are giving a presentation to, you are going to, they're expecting certain things from you. You are expected to be professional, be dressed nice, be this, be that. Of course, yes, a 9-hour presentation is going to be like extremely draining because you have to be this certain level of professional and speak a certain way and be presentable and all that stuff. And you know that the people that you're presenting to are judging you. Versus you turn on the stream, like, yeah, they're judging you, but you just don't care. So it's nowhere near as draining by any means as actually doing a real presentation. He did not think about that at all. But yeah, giving a real presentation, you're worried about the people that you're presenting to, their outlook on the situation. You know, you were trying to adapt to the way that they look and stuff. And so it's definitely going to be more of a hassle to do a real presentation versus start a stream. Like, I think that's kind of an easy take to see.
That's the context. I don't know what jobs you worked at, but it seems like you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And you're saying people that
I can talk from my perspective.
I don't know who these two are.
Whenever I worked at the IRS, I think that was less socially draining than streaming. I think that, like, obviously, whether a job is harder or not, it's so hard to say whether a job is harder or not. Because, like, for example, a lawyer obviously works very hard, or at least some of them do, right? But are they working physically harder than a construction worker? No, they're not. Absolutely not. So whenever you look at which job is harder to do,
by golly, oh my God, I can't believe. Okay, yeah, but he is taking. Okay, he can't think of an actual way that streaming is, except for socially, right? He's saying that streaming is socially harder than working a 9 to 5 job. But then he compares a lawyer to a construction worker instead of comparing a streamer to a regular, like, because he knows that there's no comparison, right? So he actually has to compare a lawyer to two real jobs to each other instead of streaming to a real job, because he knows that this is a bunch of bullshit. There's no actual side here. I don't think he actually believes what he's saying right now. I think he's just having to back up what he previously said in order to, like, not bow or, like, admit fault. So
You have a number of different, like, kind of spectrums, right? You have, like, is something difficult physically? Is something difficult mentally? Is something difficult emotionally, right? So you have these different spectrums. And then there's also, is something difficult, like, in terms of the level of, like, expertise or education that you need to have, which I think goes into mentally, but it can also be its own spectrum as well, depending on what the job is. I think that any reasonable person would say that, obviously, being a streamer is not very taxing physically. It's clearly not. And I think for a lot of people, it's not very taxing mentally either. I think streaming is a great job, and I would rather stream than have any other job in the world. There are obviously negatives that exist with streaming, but those negatives don't outweigh the positives. Your lowest level form processor worked at the IRS.
my God, he's so, like, it just comes off as, I think the longer he's streamed and the more money he's made, the more out of touch he's become. The fact that, like, what negatives? What are the negatives? You have to wake up every morning and press start streaming? What are the actual negatives? You're socially drained after talking for however long. Okay, once you start to feel socially drained and you can just end the stream. There's not really a negative because you can just do what you want. Am I missing something here? Am I living on the same planet? Like, what?
Stop talking like you worked actual full-time jobs. Well, if you work for the tax season, you can work full-time because you just come in every day. They hire you and you can work overtime as much as you want. Also, if you're a low-level form processor, then that's also a job. So what you're saying is that now, and I think this is a problem that, like, people have. They get emotionally attached to the virtue of work rather than actually talking about what really they're doing and looking at it from a more pragmatic perspective and trying to see it from the perspective of another person. I'm not interested in, like, your, like, virtue analysis of whether one job is better than another job. But what I'm saying is that there are some jobs that are more and less mentally taxing or emotionally taxing. Like, for example, I bet being a police officer is more emotionally taxing than being a streamer. As I've said, I think being a police officer or a nurse, for example, imagine being like an EMS person. I think that's harder than being a streamer in, like, every single context, other than maybe you don't get swatted, right? There may be a few other things. So, of course, there are jobs that don't fit inside of that spectrum and that are harder on all different spectrums. But being a nurse and being an EMS worker or being a cop isn't the only job. Yeah, you're the ones doing the swatting. Yeah, you're the ones showing up. Okay, so let's continue. But I just wanted to make sure that, like, that's my perspective going into this. The big difference is the monetary difference between other jobs and being a streamer. Being paid a lot of money doesn't make problems go away. Being paid a lot of money makes it easier to deal with problems.
Exactly. That's the whole. Okay, Asmon. What are the problems? If your only problem with streaming is the fact that you stop streaming and you're a little, socially taxed, I don't even look at that as a problem. That's just a side effect from streaming. That's not even really an issue, okay? Like, you're socially taxed, then, like, I don't know, sit down, get on your phone, watch a TV show. You don't have to talk anymore. That's just like being a human being. That's a negative of being a human. Like, what do you mean? Of course, after, like, a full day of doing anything, you're going to be a little tired. So
there's actually studies that have been done on this, and I can show you the graph. I'll do it now because I think people are going to disagree, because for a lot of people, and this is really the reality here, is that I'm preaching to a very tough audience, arguing my point of view, because for the majority of people that are watching me and disagreeing and getting angry, the biggest problem in their life is money. So for them, the idea that you can't, like, that money isn't the problem well, this is going to very much upset them because they look at it from the perspective of like, well, if I had money, then this would totally solve all my problems. And I think if you work at a many jobs, that's absolutely true. And I want to show that with a graph. So let me go ahead and do that. These are some graphs right here that I can show. And these are studies that have been done over the years with a number of different people. And basically what you see happening is that especially whenever you're reaching, you know, again, into this like leading up to like $200,000 a year, more money will absolutely make you more happy. Absolutely it will, 100%. But that does not necessarily mean that more money infinitely will just make you more and more happy. And that's the perspective that I'm making. That's the point that I'm making.
Well, I don't think anyone expected that. Like, okay, if you are out there and you're watching this video and you expected your happiness to indefinitely increase with the more money that you make, then that's just a brain dead outlook. Like, of course that's not going to happen. You only have so much dopamine and serotonin to have during the day, so like, of course. But as you can see, the more money you make, this is $0. So I don't know, this is probably like what, 10K a year? So okay, you're very unhappy right here. All right, you start making a little bit more money, you're happier. Up, it keeps increasing. But as you can see, the chart keeps on going up. The more money you make is with life satisfaction, because you are, you know, you feel like you're a good human being. You got a little bit of money. You can take care of yourself. You can take care of the people around you. And, you know, the experienced well-being also goes up. I mean, like, it decreases a little bit at 800,000, but that's probably like being depressed from being alone or something. I don't know. Like, I can get that. But generally, the more money you make, the more happy you're going to be. So,
but if you're making, let's say, $40,000 a year, I want to make it very clear. Money will buy happiness. If you make more money, assuming that you're living in a first world country, right? And, you know, some people, I think 40,000 is a lot of money. But this graph, I think, proves my perspective on things. That obviously, yes, making more money matters, but it does fall off. It has a diminishing return. And this is...
yeah, at $400,000 and $800,000. Like, where did they even get the, like, what, they had 20 people come in for these two, like, ranges? Like, not that many people make that much money. So, unless you're, like, a surgeon or a YouTuber. And if you're a surgeon, I can understand why you're, you know, the more money you make, you know, it starts going down a little bit. All you do is work. So, like...
is reflected in many different graphs. Mean happiness for income bands... there's one right there. It actually goes down. I mean, that's, again, I think this is a personal problem here. But you can see very clearly, especially leading up to $100,000, yeah, there's a soft cap, right? And so this does happen. You're conflating happiness with problems. Yes, I think that people with less problems are generally more happy, and I think the ability to deal with your problems will lead you to becoming more happy. I do think that's true. Yes.
And guess how most people are able to deal with their problems? Well, by golly, it's money.
And I
in
do
today's,
think that in general,
you know,
like we're talking about
economy,
happiness. And so, yeah, I would say so. So you agree? I agree to an extent. Like, I don't know about this. Like, this is kind of a weird topic, and I could get into it, but I don't know if there are more or less problems that money can solve. But I don't think it really matters. I think that a lot of people's problems are internal. But in general, especially if you're like poor, I do think that money will solve your problems, but money will probably not solve all of your problems. And I think in the same concept, it's like the Maslow's hierarchy.
I don't think anyone expects money to solve every single one of your problems. If you end up developing cancer, money, I mean, you might be able to buy better treatment or something along, you know, those lines. But, like, of course, money is not going to be able to solve every single one of your downfalls that you have throughout your life. Nobody expects that. But you can be for darn sure that it makes life a lot easier. You don't have to worry as much. So...
hierarchy of needs, right? The pyramid. I think that once people have some problems that become solved, then they will then create new problems that then they will get upset about and then want those problems to be solved as well. I think this is the human condition, and it happens with a lot of people.
Right, so in like now Asmon, he's at a point of like riches and just I guess I don't know, solidarity. Now he's kind of just tone deaf to like the general populace and our actual issues. So he's spewing his issues that aren't actual issues to regular like people like you and me. But to him, it's a real setback. Like getting off a stream and being slightly tired, that's a big hindrance to him, like to his day. Because he just has nothing else to worry about. So I could definitely see that being an issue.
So as soon as somebody has, they get to a certain, income cap, they start making a certain amount of money, they're happy for a while, and then they become unhappy again. Because I think, again, it's an internal problem, and I could go back and forth about that. Bro, my house burned down on Valentine's Day. More money would solve my problem? Well, do you think that I'm taught? Like, I wonder, like, whenever I said that, do you think that I was talking about your situation? Do you think that I was referring to the fact that your house burnt down? Of course I'm not talking about your situation. There are a lot of, like, I mean, again, this is what I'm talking about, like, with a dishonest interpretation of things. And I think it's more than not dishonest. It is something that people are intentionally misunderstanding. So this is a person who's unhappy about what I said. What have I said that you think you've typed it 7 times now? Thank you for numbering them. Now I can read it. So what part of what I said is inaccurate? Like I most of the guys here that watch my stream and that watch my content.
Well, it's not inaccurate, but the reason why people are reacting like this is because, like, okay, honestly, why should anyone that watches you have any compassion for any of your personal issues when they know you're a millionaire? You don't really have any problems. You don't have anything to really worry about. Like, what do you actually legitimately have to worry about, except for maybe your health? Like, right? Like, you want to stay in good physical health, but you cannot blame them at all for giving you any hate on this subject because they're probably in a way worse predicament than you are. Money would help them significantly. It would probably give them happiness to a certain extent. So, like, Asmon being, like, even acting somewhat defensive is, once again, seriously tone deaf in this situation.
Like, we're like 30. I don't want to have to treat people like 15-year-olds. I just want to talk about real shit and have honest conversations. And I'm not going to mince words or try to avoid certain topics because I know that might trigger some people that are, like, emotionally unstable. So what about this, the part where you've been...
I think it's more of a fact that people just want him to be able to appreciate the position that he's in and like recognize that. Like, because I feel like Asmon's that person that will say, I'm so appreciative of the position that I'm in and, all this, but he won't actually, like, understand how privileged he is.
Been defending being rich for days now because of a bad take you said years ago. What did I say that was inaccurate? What did I say? Because it's like, it seems like it would be easy for you, right? I mean, you've been watching now for I Am Burb. Okay. Okay. The pre-bought servers, streamers kill servers. It's a classic WoW viewer. Okay, so he's a bird, guys. So what part of what I said was wrong? Is it just me, or all the worst takes come from chatters who are fairly new or new followers and subs? Yeah, that's because the old ones have gotten banned, and the new ones haven't gotten banned yet. That's why. I mean, it seems to me like you've been watching for... Actually, I mean, no, you've typed this like fucking...
He just proved his own point. The people that he, like, when he does not like something that somebody says, all he has to do is ban them. Boom. And more often than not, you have mods to do that for you, so you're not even doing your own job. So... But yeah, I mean, like, this is pretty much his whole take. I mean...
This, man, like, did it really upset you? That much? Did it really upset you that much? I mean, it seems like it would be very easy for you to explain what I said that was inaccurate. Now, I think the reason why... Oh, no, you just typed. Okay, let me read it real quick. I saw your name. You literally think it's more stressful to be rich than to be poor. Okay, well, I guess I can respond to you very quickly and just get this out of the way. No, I don't. Does that help? You quit your job to go up in your room and stream, so you didn't have to do regular shit jobs. So when you're in the position of all set up and claim us regular folk have better work life, it's upsetting. I don't think that anybody's talking about whether they have a better work life or not. I think that it's I mean, there's like a million different kinds of jobs, and I'm sure, like, for example, like working in some jobs is like infinitely more like stressful than like working in other jobs, for example. Sure. Like, I don't think you can really make a blanket statement one way or another. Like, now that I've explained my perspective here, do you have anything else to say? Because we've gone off on such a tangent. We're 2 minutes into the video, guys. 2 minutes into the video, we're already doing this. Were you not trying to argue that when someone makes more money that they have more stress than when they didn't make as much money? Whenever I was making $4,000 a month, I was a lot more happy than I am now making less than $1,000. Okay. Well, number one, you need to get off my fucking stream and start figuring out your fucking money, all right? I understand this might not be a popular thing to say, but you got to figure out your fucking money if you're making less than $1,000 a month, man. Like, get your shit together.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
And trust me, there were many times I was in this position too. Okay, like, let's just be fucking honest. I'm going to address what you're saying in an honest way. No, I am not saying this. Unequivocally, period. No, this is not what
Yeah, I will say,
saying.
Asmon did not say that.
See, that I can't argue with. You're right, but even if you abandon us, don't worry about it. Like, but can you please just try to listen to what I'm saying? Like, I really wish that you guys sometimes would just listen to what I'm saying before you just start spamming and getting mad. For a lot of people, money is such a big problem in their life that whenever they hear anybody say anything that is even adjacent to money isn't a problem, it immediately, and I'm not trying to be mean, but it unironically triggers them. And so they stop thinking about what's actually being said, and they start arguing against something that they've heard before. They get emotional about it. And I understand that. I've been in that position myself. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I ever said. I'm not going to ban you. I think that you understand my perspective. If we're going to stealth ban them. No, we're not. Yeah, no, and that's the problem, is that I think people misunderstand it because they get immediately upset at the concept of it. And so they stop thinking about it. And they just start typing or just going. Okay, let's go back over here.
You're not doing a people-pleasing job. Sometimes the people that you
My God, he just keeps going.
To please in your job are your bosses
Or coworkers.
or coworkers.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're doing those jobs and they are the one that are draining you. Your coworkers.
He's exactly right. He's totally right. But I think that he also is agreeing with what my perspective is, because he's using the word sometimes. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's not. It depends.
Yeah, but you never, when you are streaming, you never, ever have to disagree with your coworkers. That is the difference. So Asmon, yes, sometimes. Of course, when you go to a job, you're not always going to have a disagreeable day. But with streaming, you are, like, almost never going to have a disagreeable day. So, yeah, that's out of the window.
Depends on the job.
Your definition of what a client is very limited. A client can be someone from outside of your work, comes into your work, and then you have to serve them. But a client can also be other departments of your job that depend on your position. That's considered a client.
And that's people pleasing. When you have to work with other departments and have to bend over backwards to just make sure no problems exist, you are.
Like, I guess in a way, Asmon does have to get up and actually start streaming to, like, please his viewers and then to make money. But I don't even know if you can really count that. But technically, he does have to be a people pleaser.
Are people pleasing.
And he can't get on stream and just not speak. So I can get from, like, that point of view. You do have to actually start your stream, yes. And then you do actually have to verbally say words to your chat. So I can get that.
If every 6 months you have to have a report, and you're not dealing with people outside of your work, you're just dealing with people inside of your work. And every 6 months, your boss meets you and it's like, yeah, we're going to see how you're doing at the job. You have to please your people, which are your bosses and whatever standards that there is in the company.
Here's the truth.
Well, yeah, of course you do. I mean, that's the way anything would work. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that having a performance review is definitely very different than talking for a living. Like, there's like a different type of stress that that creates. And that's what I was talking about with like different spectrums. So, like, yeah, he's totally right that you always have to please people because people give you money. Like, if you look at like having a job as an abstract, we stop comparing streaming to other careers. Well, I think that there's,
That
I mean, there's
his chat, wow, and making sense. He said exactly what I was thinking. Like, he's still not comparing other jobs to streaming. Like,
comparisons to be made, there's comparisons not to be made. If that's upsetting to you, I think that you're emotionally invested in this argument. And
I'm
you're
surprised he's actually missing the one comparison that can be made, and that is that he does have to start streaming and he does have to, talk to his chat, please his chat to a certain extent. Not really, because he can just have these absolute shit takes. And yeah, so
not really interested in talking about it. I'm just trying to talk about this. That's all. If this is upsetting for you, then that's not my problem. Obviously, it's not the same as any other. Like, no job is the same as any other job.
Asmon keeps saying, if this is upsetting for you, well, that's not my problem. You can actually leave, you bastard. I don't think that's the issue. I think the guy in his chat was just simply trying to say, hey, you're just not, like, yeah, okay, like, working a job, you do have to please people, but what does that have to do with streaming? And Asmon misses the one comparison that he could have made, saying that, well, I do have to please you guys. And instead he says, well, there are comparisons to be made or not to be made. Like, what of course, what do you mean by that?
Well, very few jobs are the same as any other job. But of course there's similarities between that. Never had a real job for a long period of time? I mean, it depends on what you define by long, right? Not for more than 5 years and not consistently for more than 2 years. No. I never wanted one.
About our favorite champagne socialist, okay? He comes from one of the richest families in Turkey, okay? He's incredibly wealthy. He's always been from a wealthy family. And so this trust fund baby goes on to be a very successful streamer and makes it.
I didn't even know
about
that.
This hard work life. That's why a lot of these dudes who before the people never come from backgrounds that are...
I do think that Hasan owns his success, though. It's not like somebody else gave him that success. I think that Twitch is actually one of the most free markets, and YouTube is the same thing. I think that Twitch and YouTube are some of the most free markets in the entire world. And I'll explain why I think that. So there are a lot of people, Young Turks. I understand you've typed this a few times. How many views do the Young Turks get on Twitch? Because they used to have a Twitch channel. As far as I know, they don't anymore, but they got like 100 or something like that. They don't get that many. Hasan gets a lot more views than the Young Turks do. So why is it that...
Then again, you have to also attribute some of it to luck, but a lot of it, luck, consistency, and like having decent content. And having like good takes, like having a personality that people want to actually listen to. So
Hasan gets that many more viewers. Do you think Twitch is meritocratic? I do think that Twitch is meritocratic. I think that Twitch and YouTube is probably one of the most meritocratic places on the entire internet. I genuinely believe that. And here's the reason why I believe that. It's because every single one of you, the viewer, are the market on Twitch. You are the viewer. You make
that is
the
true.
decision who is popular and who's not. And you make the choice, and you can make any choice that you want for who you want to watch. And if enough people make the same choice, that person becomes successful, whether Twitch, unless they get banned, right? Whether Twitch likes it or not, whether other people like it or not. There's a lot of people who, were very angry about like Kai and like for Aiden Ross. Like Aiden Ross got shit on by everybody on Twitch, but because Aiden Ross was entertaining for his community, people came over and they watched him. And the reason for that is because it's a meritocracy. It's because if you put in work and you get noticed, you can succeed even though other people don't want you to. And so I do think that Hasan does own his success because he put in the time to succeed on Twitch. He streamed on Twitch. People every single day choose to tune in to watch Hasan. Every single day people choose to do that. What freer market can you possibly think of than that?
Okay, but I don't understand but like this is totally going out of bounds. Like I maybe he's trying to subvert the attention from the actual topic at hand. I don't know. But anyways, that this is like kind of my response to the whole thing. He's clearly he has the same outlook. He doesn't think that he said anything wrong. He believes that he is completely like that streaming still has its downsides, but once again, I think he is just slightly just he doesn't have a clear outlook on it because he's been so successful for so long that it's just like muddy in his head. So, yeah, that's basically my whole outlook on that.